Okay, good evening and welcome to the National Gallery. I am Anne Robbins. I'm Associate Curator of Post-1800 Paintings and the curator of this exhibition, Painters' Paintings. I'm going to give you an exclusive 10 minutes out of our tour of this, our new exhibition. Painters' Paintings, our new exhibition, is different in the sense that we have brought together paintings previously owned by artists. And it is the first time we're doing this in the gallery. It's the first time we're looking at pictures from the point of view of the artist who owns them. And we start with Freud in the exhibition. We end with Van Dyck. And here I am in the section of the exhibition devoted to Degas. So Degas, of course, is very well known as one of the founding members of the Impressionist group, a great Impressionist master. He was an astute observer of contemporary life. But what is lesser known is that he was also a very great collector in his own right. He had amassed a fantastic collection of paintings, sculptures, and this is what we are doing here in this section of the exhibition, is that we are not looking at the art he painted, but at the art he had collected. And in fact, the paintings he had acquired reflect his artistic friendships, the fact that he was a member of the Impressionist group. He had pictures by Manet, by Gauguin, by Pissarro, but he was also a great admirer of the greatest masters of 19th century French paintings of the previous generations, Ingres and Delacroix. And in this room of the exhibition, we are focusing on these two centers of gravity in Degas' collection, Ingres and Delacroix. And here we have Degas, still as a young man, and he's painted his self-portrait at the age of 21, so as a very young artist, and it is a self-portrait in which he alludes to his artistic formation. He's presenting himself with this great air of maturity. He looks extremely confident and self-composed, and he's holding in one hand a charcoal holder, which alludes to his mastery of drawing, and on the other hand, he's resting his hand on a portfolio, and the portfolio might contain the sketches and studies that he had done after the works by the masters. And it is what Degas often did is that when he acquired paintings for his own collection, he would look for pictures that he had copied as a young man. And this is what happened, for instance, with this painting by Ingres, the Angelica, saved by Ruggiero. There is a larger version of this painting, which is now at the Louvre, that Degas had copied as a young man in the 1850s. And when decades later, when Degas was a bit older and had when his art was selling well and he had the financial means to acquire important works, he looked for reduced versions or repetitions of paintings that he had copied when he was still in training. Here, another highlight of Degas' collection were his portraits by Ingres. This is one of the finest examples, the portrait of Monsieur de Norvins by Ingres. Monsieur de Norvins was a chief of police in occupied Rome under Napoleon, and that was really one of Degas' greatest treasures. We know how Degas lived with his pictures. He had a whole room in his house was devoted to his collection, almost like a kind of sanctuary, and we know that he displayed his portraits by Ingres and by Delacroix. We have Delacroix on the other side of the room, on easels in a semi-circle for them to look, for these pictures to look their best, and these paintings were also stressing his filiations with these great masters of 19th century art. He very much saw himself as inscribed in this tradition, in the tradition both of line and of color. So the tradition of line as embodied by Ingres paintings, and then he admired Delacroix for other reasons, for his sense of composition. And here another two more paintings by Ingres that Degas had bought. He had more than 20 paintings by the French master, and these were studies done in preparation for a large ceiling for the Louvre that Ingres had painted in mid-1820s. And again, Degas, who was very thorough and very voracious as well as a collector, when he wanted a picture, he would go to dealers and insist that they should let him have it. When he was coveted a particular work, nothing would stop him from acquiring it. And he was, in fact, with these two paintings, he was also very interested in their fragmented aspect. You see, this one is in itself a collage. Ingres made it out of several pieces of canvas that he assembled on another piece of canvas. And this is something that wouldn't have deterred Degas, because he was interested in cropped compositions himself. And if you think of his own works, of his own pastels, of his own nudes, he often would turn fragmented images into whole compositions. That's how he composed images himself. And Degas was, even though he was not a painter of landscapes, that's one genre he was not very much interested in. Even though he was an impressionist, he was not a plein air artist at all. But he had amassed a collection of landscapes by this study of a sky at sunset by Delacroix, done in pastel, and of course it's another aspect of this work that Degas was interested in. He's Delacroix's mastery of pastel, and the way in which Delacroix manages to evoke a landscape just by a few feathery strokes of color is so skilled and wonderful. And Degas, in the late 1860s, did a series of pastels on the Normandy coast. So this shows the same, probably done in the same area of France as the Delacroix pastel. So these this is a very, we think, a very efficient comparison of these two works. Corot was also present in Degas's collection. He had acquired 7 paintings by the French landscape artist, and 6 out of these 7 paintings were landscapes, such as this one, this view of the Roman Campagna, so outside Rome, an early, incredibly fresh landscape by Corot that we know Degas hung in his bedroom. So we know that Degas must have had a particular attachment to this work, that he really regarded it very highly. He had a very high esteem for it. And in fact, if we look through this room, you can see how important Corot was for 19th century painters. Corot was also present in the collection of Lord Leighton. Lord Leighton, the great Victorian painter and sculptor, had bought in the mid-1860s these 4 spectacular landscapes by Corot, and showed them in his house in Holland Park, where they held pride of place in his drawing room. So Corot keeps reappearing in almost each section of this exhibition. Corot was also collected by Lucian Freud. So it's a kind of thread that you can follow from one room to the other of the exhibition.